Good. Okay. Last week we started the Azhora of בחוקותיהם לא תלכו. The Rambam, we mentioned, the Rambam talks here about Kefrim, and there's Darke Kefrim and Minhoge Kefrim. Try to understand a little bit about it. Malbusheim in Mishnah Torah, the idea of Kefrim is not 100% clear. And then he quotes two lavim. The first one is Lo Sechu B'chukas Hagoy, and the second one is B'chukasem Lo Yiselecho. Interesting. The Talmud, when it quotes B'chukasem, always quotes the second pasuk. The first pasuk I didn't see quoted. Maybe there's a raya, a medrash and mishlei or something like that, but I don't know exactly how. And the Rambam, on the other hand, the first ashor that he quotes here is v'lo seilchu b'chukas hagoy asher ani mishalech mipenechem. This, it's not only a problem from just from the Talmudic point of view that the one that's quoted is Chuzali Selechu. There's a problem in Pshuta Shel Mikra. Let's say, at least, if I want to be conservative, it's not clear in Pshuta Shel Mikra that v'lo seichu b'chukas hagoy is an ashora. Maybe it's only a shlila, and it's a afterthought of the Pasha Ba'arayis that the goyim were noga b'meheta. And the point is, misha shema kol achukim v'lo misha shema kol achukim lo yelech b'chukas hagoyim lavo be'arayis. And he won't do it. Not that there's an Isa over here. Let's just read the psukim. The tail end of Arayis. The Isha sheyikach es eshes ochiv nida ervas ochiv gilo aririm yiyu shmaltem es kochuk kosai. Yes, called. That's the end, the tail end of all Arayis, the whole list. V'es kol mishpotai v'asis moisom v'lo yisoki ha'oretz eschem v'lo yisoki l'cher l'soki ha'oretz eschem is a shlila, right? It won't happen. V'lo yisoki eschem ha'oretz asher ani mevi eschem shomo l'sheves bo. And the question is there a lab over here, or it's v'lo seichu, and you won't be going the chukas hagoy Hashem b'shalech mehem ki es eile asu v'okutz bom, and the Goyen doesn't want there should be okutz bom by Yisrael. And you see from the Sefer that the possible Seichel B'chukas Hagoy is referring to Arayis, because the Goyim was true from Arayis. The Sefer Parshas Kedoshim, Parsha Dalit, Perek Tes, Halacha Hey, V'lo Seichel B'chukas Hagoyim, Elo HaMitzrim, Asher Hashim Alich, Asher Ani Mishalech B'Pneichem, Elo Kananim. It's talking about the goyim from the place he came from, the place he's going to. Ki es kol eile asu malamid shoye kananim shtuf mitvom lalolo. But however, and the truth is, you can look it over yourself and to see. I got the impression Maral Diskin in his Pirush on Chumash actually learns that it's the way he's quoting the psukim, the way he's dealing with it. It's a shlila. The Maril is in Vayikra, Maral Diskin, Vayikra Yudches Chavches. However, it's very clear in Rambam that he assumes an ashara. In fact, he's mocked him. The lo seichu b'chukas hagoy to b'chukas lo seilechu. The Sifra, which the Ram is quoting, well, amate b'chukah chukim lema v'seichu, is referring b'chukas lo seilechu. And the next Sifra, which he's quoting, is also b'chukas lo seilechu shel ta'alchu b'nimus shelahem. So all the Medrash Halacha are referring to the posuk in Achrei Mos, not in Kedoshim. The Ram seems to assume that the posuk in Kedoshim is also an asara. That's just a fact. I thought it's an interesting observation. So I found in one of the Achreinim, it's called the Mishnah Kesef in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Aleph. He's talking about the Seder, why the Ram quotes the Pasuk Gedoshim before Achrei, the Pasuk in Achrei Mos. V'nir de Rabbeinu Rotza Lamdenu, shepirush Pasuk lo seichel b'chukas hagoyim. It's a goy. Einoi rotzaloi madekoi amai desolek mine. It's not, I'm telling you, it's not that it's referring to arayis. Even the Sefer seems to say that it is. Apash arayis kinire lechera. The Kombolo Sefer b'chukas hagoyim asher nishmalech b'nechem ki es kol eilo asu v'okutz bom u'mash medekoi apash arayis u'pash moilech. He says before Shabbeinu the lo sechu b'chukas hagoyim achukim achakukim lehu b'koi amad dekoma kol le'el v'pash achrei. It's referring, it's ki'ilu a kefel for Pashas Achrei. Chamaisa Eretz Yisrael, Chamaisa Eretz Canaan, Asher Ani Mevi Eschem, Shom B'chuseim Lo Yiselechu, Shepirush B'chuseim Lo Yiselechu, Lo Yiselechu Minimusa Shaleim B'dvar Machakukim. So he doesn't explain where the Ram gets it from, but he's learning Kilu, the Ram turns the world upside down, and it's not referring to the Pasha of Kedoshim and all the arayis before, but it's referring back to Achrei Mos and the love of B'chukaseim Lo Yiselechu. So Mela, it's referring back to that love. So maybe it's also an ashara. So the truth is, I can't say that I'm excited about this, especially since it's Sefer. And, to say, I found that, could be in Medrash Mishlei, there's, a sadla there, but it's not the reason to go against the Sefer. But I can tell you that the Rambam is not an isolated Rishon that learns like this, because in Shuvas Rashbo I found that he quotes Lo Sercho B'chukas Hagoy as an ashara in two places, in Chelek Aleph Siman Shin Mem Hey, and in Chelik Aleph, Siman, Tov Yud Gimel. And not only did they find the Rashba like that, but it's also Sefer Yereim. But the Sefer Yereim, it's not an Ashara for the B'chukosayim Lo Yiselechu, but it's an Ashara for Ben Seir Meire. It's interesting. The Yereim is Siman Reish Ayin Hey in the Fus Yoshon Siman Nun Zayin. Tziva Beri Sholelech Odom B'chukas Hagoyim Lirdov Achrei Shris Levovo Eliyoi Zayla V'Soive. He shouldn't be a running after orgies, running after food, motivated by just filling up his stomach. And that's a lot for Ben Seir Meir. Tichsiva Pasha Kedoshim Tiyu V'Losechu B'chukas Hagoy V'chukas Hagoyim Zoylim V'Soivim. In Yereim. So we should him do learn that it's alive, and it's a very odd thing because the Pashto Psukim don't seem to go like that. And just to quote it, it is true. It is true that the Mishnah Kesef is the observation is correct, that the Ram is turning the world upside down. But why? He doesn't explain. That's the important question, especially the Sefer says it is referring to Arayis, I think. That is just the point, okay? And it's very odd. He turns the Chumash backwards, and it's Kfar Nichba as Holazu, B'chukosayim Lo Yiselechu, which is in Achrei. It's a very interesting thing. Next. We spoke, just to mention again, we spoke that Mishnah Torah, he doesn't seem to stress the Avodah Zarah, but just not to be like Goyim. Here, we'll talk a little bit soon about the Avodah Zarah aspect over here. In fact, the Ram does that, because the Ram says that the Teatrios, the Kirkasios, the Asterios, the Eluheim Mine Min HaMoshavim, showing miskapsim behem lavodah slomim. The Ram does the same thing in Mishnah Torah. In Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Aleph, lo yivne ha'mekoymes kibinyan echol shel avodah zarah, geishikot ben rabim k'mo shehein oisen. We find this idea, you see, what the Ram's doing, the undercurrents of what the Ram's doing over here is trying to somehow insert into B'chukosayim Lo Yiselechu an element of Avodah Zarah. And basically, the Rishon that was the banner bearer of this approach is a thesis in Avodah Zarah. The thesis says there's a separate Isa in B'chukosayim Lo Yiselechu from chukim of goyim, which are somehow intertwined with Avodah Zarah. That's the sugya in Yud Aleph. Yud Aleph on Aleph in Avodah Zarah. And Taisus points as another sugya in Nun Beis and Beis, talking about the way you do Misa Sayif, and there the Gemara also calls it the same way Selecho, and there Lachir is nothing to do with Avodah Zarah, and Taisus there two dinim. Taisus in Avodah Zarah on Yud Aleph and Aleph, the Masav Yichuka, the Kach Pirishri, the Tregav Nechuka Hav. Echod Shoisin L'Shem Chik L'Avodah Zarah. It's a chayk which is intertwined with Avodah Zarah. The Echod Shoisin L'Shem Das Hevel U'Shtus Shalem. It's the crazy things that they do, but they happen to do it. But there's no relation to Avodah Zarah. And the sugya in Avodah Zarah, Rocha B'Shmaite Meiri, B'Oisen Chayk Shoisin L'Shem Avodah Zarah. And in those things which are chayk l'Avodah Zarah, there's no heter of ksiva baraisa. If it talks about the Jews doing it in the Torah, that's not enough. It's only in Sanhedrin, where it's not a chayk l'Avodah Zarah, then the fact that it's done, or there's a pasuk, or minan gamrinon, that's enough to be mad. That's taste says Lochipusha. May sov a sreifa lav chukihi l'Avodah Zarah. Lochi porich, but may holds is not a chukah, but it's a chukah l'Avodah Zarah, and an hechi safinon. Voksi b'chukasem leiselecho, and I v'afagaf tiksiva b'araisa of mitzvah for his malachim. So that should be matter. We see the Gemara Sanhedrin. He says no. Yesh lesser kiven shelohem hu chok l'Avodah Zarah. If it's a chok l'Avodah Zarah, the fact that it's ksiv b'arais is not. There's two dinim according to Taisus. The Miri also has this idea that there's a b'chukosem lo yiselechu, which is intertwined with Avodah Zarah. The Miri and Sanhedrin and Beis and Beis, Afa Pishi Ika Menias Halicha B'chukis Eidei Avodah Zarah, Eino Elo Le'inyan Shrashi Avodah Zarah, Shelo Yishdamer Lehem B'Mavusheim B'Miuchodim Lehem, Tispor Yisayram B'Shadro Miuchodim L'Koim Reim B'Binyanei Cholish Kishelohem Ad Sheyachshov. It's intertwined with Avodah Zarah, but it has a very strange ending. The reason is very strange. The Rambam has nothing to do with that. But the interesting thing is that the Rambam over here goes out of his way, and it says v'af hey minim min hamoshavim shohayu miskapsim behem lavodas hatzlomim. So it means Avodah Zarah is important in b'chukosem lo yiselechu. And the other hand, if you look at Tlusim at the end, we'll talk about this more, Belineda. He says, V'loshin sifri, hishomer b'lo yisaseh, pen b'lo yisaseh, tinoch asher shemet tidma lehem, v'taseh k'maaseim, v'yu l'chol ha'moikesh, shalei toima, hoil v'hein yoitzim ba'agomim, af ani yoitzim ba'agomim, hoil v'hein yoitzim b'telusin, af ani yoitzim b'telusin. And the Ram adds, "V'humin mimine ziun aproshim." The type of armor or type of ammunition that the I guess the aristocracy, or I don't know what the Proshim are, or the better the cream of the army. The important thing is the Ram goes out of his way in Moshavom, in Tiatrios, Karkasios, the Estrios, and he says Avodah Zarah. And here, when it comes to Telusin and Agomon, there's no mention of Avodah Zarah b'chlal. It just shouldn't be like them. So a priori, in Rambam, we also have two dinim, which is an interesting phenomenon. However, that is very good over here in Sefer Mitzvos. In Mishnah Torah, if you recall, in Perek Yud Aleph, the whole discussion, just read it. Ein hoche b'chus hagoyim v'lo medamen lehen v'lo b'malbush v'lo b'seyo u'kiyetz b'hen shenem l'seichu b'chukas hagoy. The same thing. The first one is l'seichu b'chukas hagoy v'nema b'chukasein l'seilechu v'nema yishoma l'cho pentinogesh achrei, and he puts them all together. Hakol b'nyin echod u'mazir shelo yidme lehen el Yisraeli ha-Yisraeli muvdol mehen. וידעו במבושי בשם מעשו, כמו שהוא מובדל מהם במדו ובדיוסף, חינוים ובעבדל אסכם מנועם. So a priori reading this, and I think I mentioned last week, the Ram has a whole different take of saying Lo Yisalecho. It's nothing to do with Avodah Zarah. It's the Jew should be different. They shouldn't dress like Goyim. They should. That's what it seems to say. Well, that's very different than the presentation over here in Sefer HaMitzvos. But what confounds me, and that's what I would have assumed, he stopped here, then he has, in Frankel, it's two dots in the Alocha, Lo Yubush, Mamalbush, Yuchalahem, Lo Yidot Sitzis, Kamoit Sitzis Roisham, Or Galcham Latstodim, Veni Chasea Beemsik Moshe Nois. Okay, then he says, you give them a koimois kibinyan hecholois shalavu the zoro kadeshi kotzben ram k'mosheinois. So what does he need if the chetz of the Isa in Mishnah Torah is the havdalah between the Jew and the Goy, and it's nothing to do with Avodah Zarah? Why does he go out and stress the same thing that the Ram did over here in Sefer HaMitzvos, that the Heicholos will have Avodah Zarah? And that's beyond me. I don't understand. It's Goyim do it. We shouldn't do it. Because we shouldn't be like Goyim. That's what he's saying in Mishnah Torah. I don't know. Now, I want to show you something else interesting. B'loshet Sefer, בחוקותיהם לא יסלחו, שתהלכו בנימויסייס שלהם בדבורים החקוקים להם, כגון תיאטריוס וקרקסיוס ויאסטריוס, ואלו הם מינים מן השום, שהם מסקפסים בהם לעבודה זרה. That we know. רבי מאיר אומר, אלו דרכי המורים, שמעון החכם. רבי יהודה אומר, so Tincho v'traut sitz roish, sitzes v'loi tisapi kumi, we'll see, umi she'osa dovo me'elu, me'ele chayiv malchus. So what happens? The Rambam has come out with complete clarity that the machlokes tanoim over here, the apparent machlokes tanoim, which you would assume when looking at the Sefer is not a machlekes. It's a list. Each one had their own list, and all are true. And that's why he says afterwards that Umisha is a dovo. One of these things may chayiv malchus. There's no suffix, because a suffix it would be chayiv malchus. So there's no machlekes. So then, there's a very clear statement over here. The Darkei Moiri and Chukas Aku Ma'inu Ach. It's Darkei Moiri is an example. Chukas Agoyim, Aku, whatever you want. However, interesting, in Talmud Bavli, reading a Gemara, you get the opposite impression. You get the impression that Chukais, Goyim, and Darkei Moiri are two separate things. It's a very interesting thing. Let me read it. It's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Yud Aleph and Aleph. V'osanya sofim ala melochim v'loi midarkei moiri. So it means, what did the Tana say? That Sreif HaMelochim is not Darkei Moiri. Correct? V'lo midarkei moiri. V'i chuki hifrek the Gemara. Anan hechi salfinon. V'oksiv u'b'chukosayim lo yiselechu. So you get the impression of two things. The Gemara, the Brisa says that it's not Darkei Moiri. But the Gemara says that since the Chukul Avodah Zarah, so in Mela, it should be B'chal B'chukosayim lo yiselechu. So the Gemara is not mufurish that B'chukosayim lo yiselechu and Darkei Moiri, two separate things. So, and Rashi concludes like that in Avodah Zarah l'chol ha'pochos. Yud Aleph and Aleph. V'lo midarkei moiri, eino midarkei moiri lochush lo yisaseh k'ma'aseim. It's a different lav. There's a lav lo yisaseh k'ma'aseim by Darkei Moiri, and there's another lav saying lo yiselechu. Two separate things. And the truth is a steal in Rashi. And Rashi in Shabbos, in Samach Zayin, seems to clearly say that Darkei Moiri saying lo yiselechu the same thing as the Ram here does the Sefer. So I'm not sure how I have to see. But whatever it is, the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvas, you recall, is always prefers the Medrash Halacha over Talmud Bavli, because he learns that Stam Medrash Halacha is a Pirush Makubal from the Matiki Ashmur, Ishmi Pi Ishmi, Moshe Rabbeinu, that's the way the Rebbeinu Shem taught Moshe Rabbeinu, the Chumash and the Parasha, and the Mitzvah. So that might explain that the Ram over here quotes a Sefer in order to understand the Lav. Even the Talmud Bavli seems to assume something different. Okay. Now, let's take this step first. I think this is a very interesting observation. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah seems to go a different way. You have to make sugas, you have to know. But the Sefer is clear that at least according to Rameh and the Rambam, there's no machlekes that Darkei Mori is chukas hagoyim. And the Rambam not only did it and equated the lav with Darkei Mori of chukas hagoyim, when saying B'chol shiase dover me'ele chayim malchus, but he did it again at the end of this ashara, because he says Visparu mishpatei mitzvazo b'shishi mishabes u b'teisves Shabbos. Teisefes teisefta, not teis. Okay. What is that I'm referring to? The teiseftas in Perek Zayin and Perek Ches are talking about Darkei Mori. The Gemara in Shabbos, in Samach Zayin, Omen Aleph is also talking about Darkei Mori. So there's one thing to tell you, that the Dinim in the Talmud, he doesn't quote the Gemara in Hedron, but there's all the Gemara quotes he quotes the Gemara in Shabbos and the Tosefta in Shabbos that equate that talks about Darkei Mori. So means Darkei Mori. That is it's very clear. Okay, next. So here, Rabbi Yehuda, so the first part is the Moshavim, and the second pshat is Darkei Mori, and the third pshat Rabbi Yehuda Omer Sheloi Tincho V'loi Segadol Tzitzis V'sheloi Tisapek Kumi. So he quotes it Sefer. We have no idea what the words are, and we're happy. The Bach seems to assume that these three are parallel to the three that the Rama mentions in Mishnah Torah. And if that's the case, this must be blues. And the Bach learns like that, and the Bach quotes an Och like that it's blues. The Bach in Yodeya, Simikuf Ayin Ches, Upirish Leitincho, Shot the Galech Sovim Roish Sechacha, Roish Eschacha, Kmo Charora, Vuhu Miloshan Galgal. It's like a book. K'diisi ba'orch erech chur, v'zeo nikol bluvis. So the Bach is very clear that this is bluvis. Yeah. So he has v'lo yigalech min atztodim v'yani chaser b'emsa kmo she'eino isin, that's lo isincho then, v'hu v'zehu anikol bluris, v'legalech chaser mikineged ponov me'oizen le'oizen, and you leave only the back unshaven. Me'oizen le'oizen v'yani chapero mi'achorov k'derech she'eino isin. And that is v'lo tisapek kumi. And then the tzitz shlof, the gala tzitzis, is another type of haircut. It's not really a haircut. It's the way you braid your hair or something like that. V'lo yigadol tzitzis Kamoy tzitzis roisha. He's megadol it, and like in the form of tzitzis, whether it means that's the tzura, whether it's braided or whatever it is, but it's not cutting the hair, but it's it's braiding the hair or something that I assume. So then there's a relationship between all three. And what he quotes here, he quotes in Mishnah Torah also. The interesting thing then and the truth is, the Ravid also learns that the tzitzis is something like braiding. The Ravid in Teres Kohanim in Achrei Mois Parsha Ches Perek Gimel or Chateso is Gadol tzitzis Kamo V'Kacheni B'Tzitzis Reishi Kiraminon Nosa the Tzitzitza Pirish Shohoye Megadel Tzitzis Reishi. I guess he was braiding it or something like that, or letting it grow. And the Bach in Kufayin Ches, Yodea, so Tegadol tzitzis beloy shum giluach. It means it's not a question of braiding, it's a question of leaving it on hippie. That's what it means, I think. I don't know, according to that. This is because the Ram, Tegadol tzitzis roish, kumay tzitzis roisham, shehoyim, shemegadlu naser, lenoi, uliyoifi, kamo, Absula is derech shachatz v'gaiba. Inami l'shem avodah zarah. See here, I would have assumed if the Ram goes out of his way and says that the chukosayim of the Achakukim Teatrios, Kakasios, Listerios, Lavodah Zarah B'Dafka. The question is, what about this? Tincha Tegadol Tzitzis, or this Schapakumi, does that mean also that it's Avodah Zarah? Or it's only when he says, B'nimusay shelahen, b'dvar machakukim lahem. That of course, because I don't know. You have to know what the avodah zarah is, because if you deny, you say only part of this is avodah zarah, then the equation to tesis is a mistake, and the whole relation of avodah zarah is only the case of teatros, kakasios, vesterios. There's no hechach one way or the other, but it's an interesting question to ponder. Now that we just have plain pshat, I want to go it's clear, first of all, that not only the Rambam is learning Dake Mori, is Chuka Sa'akum in Sefer HaMitzvos, but he does the same thing in Pirush HaMishnah. If we look in Pirush HaMishnah, Shabbos Perek Vov Mishnah Yud, Lefi HaKlau, Etzleinu, Kol sheyesh boy mishum refuah, ein boy mishum darkei mur. That is a very simple statement, which most people are aware of. But then he adds another line: "V'loi olav oma hakosu, v'lo seichu b'chukas hagoy." And he quotes the pasuk in Kedoshim as Ki'ilu. And Darkei Mori is Chukasakum. It's also clear, like he's assuming here in the Sefer. The oddity over here, And frankly, I find it amazing. The Rambam in Mishnah Torah does not mention Dalkei Murri when he's talking about the lav of בחוקותיהם לא יסלחו. We look in Perigid Aleph, Halacha Aleph, Beis, and Gimel. No discussion of Dalkei Murri, which is very odd. So I'm here in Sefer Mitzvas. The whole Makor and Talmud Bavli about בחוקותיהם לא יסלחו is chukas is Dalkei Murri, and in Mishnah Torah, not to mention that Dalkei Murri is because Salechu is like an amazing about face, so we don't have no clue of what happened. The Rama mentions Dalkei Murri. I found one time Mishnah Torah, but the oddest place to have a discussion about it. Not about it's a question about a kfiyas masa on Shabbos. Is it a masa or it's not a masa? Comes the Rambam in Perek Yutes of the Shabbos Halacha Yigim, and he says the following: B'chol dovo shetoilin oisai mishum mufur. If there are therapeutic aspects of it, v'hu shi'oim ha'roifim shehu moel, then it's a list. This is part of a list of things which are not masa. If the therapeutic value in the thing, so it's not a masa. That's the discussion. That's the whole thing. Second, read again. So, you say all the case of Shibashino, but he does this, and he's allowed to go out with this, and go out does that, this. With Tia Shagabi Amaka, with Sela Shatzina, sit. Ubachol Dova Shetelin Oisei Mishumufur, Uhu Shioimu, Horefim Shumoil. He doesn't mention Dalkei Murri by name, but the Sugya is talking about Choldova. He's referring to the Sugya, so that he's somehow making a reference to Dalkei Murri and not even calling it all. This is the Gemara in Shabbos on Samach Zayin on the base. So this we have. This is, he mentions Shabbos. There is another thing. There's a Gemara on Shabbos. Samach Zayin on the base. Hoime shachatu tanagol zeh shekora aravis v'tanagolis shekora Gvoris. Yesh bo mishum Dalkei Murri. If you say to do a shchit on this one and this type of thing, and or that type of thing, or that type of Tanagol, or and with names or whatever it is. This is Dake Meri. Say Puri, you should have quoted this in the dinim from בחוקותיהם לא יסלחו, או לא יסלחו בחוקות הגוי, פרק י' א', הלכה א', beis and gimel. As the Ram says, that the dinim of this lav are the dinim of Dake Meri. And the Ram does just the opposite. The Ram in Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Daled a menachashed in the lav of nichush kigoyim shenem lo yisenachashu. Ketzad hu anachash kigoyim elu shoyim hoyel b'nochot piti b'chulei b'chulei v'chein elu shoyim sifteroi b'chulei. I'm skipping. V'chein elu shoyimrim shchoi tanagol zeh shekor haravis shchoi tanagol zeh shekor kamo tanagol. And this is the lav of nichush. So as the Ram do that, the Gemara says Dake Meri should be b'chukosei lo yiselechu. The Ram quotes it, and it's like if you do a ma'aser mishum lo yisenachashu. It's an amazing thing. Like the world has completely changed the Mishnah Torah from Sefer HaMitzvos and Pirush HaMishnah, because we mentioned here in Sefer HaMitzvos clear that Dake Meri is goyim, and also in the Pirush HaMishnah in Perek Vav Mishnah Yud. Now, let me just point something out. Just go back to Bluris at the end, which the Bach says, Leisincho. L'cheira, what comes out according to this, that there are two types of haircuts and one type of how you let your hair grow. The tincho and shotisapov kumi are two types of haircut. One is cutting all around except leaving the top. That's bluris. And the other is cutting everything except the back. And that's kumi. And l'cheira, it's clear that kumi and bluris are two separate things. And the l'cheira should come out, as we said, that if you have parallel structure, kumi is, the Ram says, is loigale chasar mikineged honov meoizim leoizim yanich hapero meachorov kederech sheoisen hein. But whatever it is, it's clear that kumi, if that's the pshat in Mishnah Torah certainly over here, whatever it's up the kumi, and bluris, if tincho, the way the Bach learns, are two separate things. Tosefta Shabbos also seems to go like that. Elu dvorim midake ameri hamisapek kumi v'oise bluris. So, you can come back to me and say that the Ram is quoting, since the Tosefta says misapek kumi and oise bluris is dake ameri. So Mela, the Ram is quoted it. Whatever that means, I don't know, because all the other things he doesn't quote. However, Rashi seems to say that kumi and bluris are one thing. Rashi in Sefer mem tesam et beis. Tiver mask masapa kumi cyrus shelefonov manich bluris meachorov. And tiver mask utalke meri dei manich in bluris l'shem avodah zorah. L'shem avodah zorah Rashi is very clear. And the Gemara is mashma also that's one thing. And Rashi avodah zorah chesam and aleph also in blue side is also mashma like that. But the Ram clearly is going against this, and if you learn the pshat in the Sefer like that, it's also against this. Next. Now, let's read the end of the Rambam here again, together with the Sifri. V'nichpolo hazora was ho mizeh ho'inyan b'mokom acher v'omroi hishoma l'cho pen tinokesh achreihem. Now, this is very odd because the Rambam says that basically is nichpolo before, and he has a separate section now of a nichpolo ashol mizeh ho'inyan b'mokom acher. So the question is there a reason that the Ram splits between these two? Maybe there isn't. That's what I'm only wondering. Space. So let's see. Yishoma l'cho pen tinokesh achreihem loshen sifri yishomer b'loisase pen b'loisase. So there's a lab here. Tinokesh achreihem shenma tidme lohem v'sase kima'aseihem. This, you see, if you learn what we learned before, that the chefs of the Isa is the fact that it's kosher avodah zorah, that's why he says the Moshavom is the Moshev of Slomim and the Teatrios, then it's not a separate Indian to make a separate lav, but there's a shlom of a whole different idea. Kilu achoka deraisa. Shema tidme lohem v'sase k'maseya. The Torah is legislating against dressing like a goy, not because these clothes are clothes miyuchad l'avodah zorah, but maybe you resemble them, and that will lead you to act like them. It's kilo, it's hachoka da'isa. It's a whole new world. And this will be a stumbling block for you, or a trap. There's no avodah zorah. It's a uniform. The aristocrats went out with agomon. So the question, what's Tusin? And nothing to do with avodah zorah. Kvayadato Loshan Novi the alcohol haloivshim malbush noch. So This is what I was talking before. I'm not sure what happened over here. Because at the beginning of the Rambam, in the beginning of this law, HaMitzvos shloshim, she's healing with lechas bedalkei hakofrim, misnag minhagosem, v'afilu b'malbusheim v'kibutzei b'moshavom. He doesn't mention Malbush over here at the beginning. He only mentioned at the end. But on the other hand, he puts together the kibbutzei b'moshavom, which the Rambam very clearly says that it's tied into Avodah Zarah. Ve'elu heim minim min amoshavim shoyim miskapsim b'hem la'avodah Zarah, la'avodah atzlomim. So what's Malbusheim? Why is it all together? And why is it L'chayra for Malbusheim of Tmusim? It's only Penyis Damet, Penyi Nokesh. It's nothing to do with this law. So I would have said because of that, the Malbusheim is the ones in a Miyuchadim, L'avodah Zarah, that they use them to be over Avodah Zarah. Okay, now, so then there are really two parts to this Hashara. There is the part that it's either a chukim and drachim and minhagim, which are intertwined with Avodah Zarah. And then there's another part where just plain to wear the same clothes that they wear, because Shema Tidme Lohem V'Tasek Masayim, which has nothing to do with Avodah Zarah. But I understand Tidme Lohem V'Tasek Masayim, maybe it's a Choka Deraisa Avodah Zarah. Maybe. Now, so here, whatever happened here in Mishnah Torah, the Rambam falls off from the whole thing because the Rambam quotes all three together, and they're all binyan echad. So I don't know if this difference which he's established in Sefer Mitzvos exists in Mishnah Torah. I would have assumed that over Porshit, Shema Yasek Masayim, it's a Choka Deraisa, because it's quoting it to Minyan HaMitzvos. I was amazed that the Sridei Eish has the same observation that I had, but assumes it's the Rabbanon. In Chelik Beis, Simon Lametes, or Metopnon Beis, Bonogoyin, Shavenu Oisa, Shtei Chalukais, Chaluka Achas, Shodvom, Chakukim Lehem Lavoisam, Shiesh Bohem Sofik, Avodah Zarah. Koshikos, Shoim Miskapsa Shem Avodah Zarah. And then he says there's no Malchus at the end over here. For Chaluka Shnia, Shodvom Asurim, in Moitzin the Stames, Bohem Lavodah Zarah, the Lagoy, Koshikos, Vohel Vehem Yoitzin Kulusin. Zekulul Hisrachek, that's the Ram says. Zekulul Hisrachek Mehem, Lagadas Kol Koiseim, Vafilu B'Malbush. Then it's Lav Dafka Malbush Koimim. Sheze Osam B'Ratorah, Kmo Shkazamiri. Ela Afilu, Stam Malbush Ogoy, V'Loitze Lubosh Oisei Malbush. Hoil vehemois in Cain also. Avo b'zeh ein Rambam oy meshichay Malkus mash b'seiv kamiri vehem asurim rak the Rabbon. Here I would disagree with it, and I would say it's the Raisa. There's no Chiv Malkus. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick up next week.